Here we go!
Hey, what's up, Blue Blurs? This is GamerBlake90, presenting you all with another video. So in this video, I would like to turn our attention back towards the evolving situation surrounding the Sonic VAs, or voice actors, as there's been some more developments over the course of the last week or so. Now, I wanted to get this video out earlier to address that situation, but I've been immersed in updates for playthroughs I've been working on for this channel, like for Sonic Unleashed on the Wii and Sonic 1 Mobile. Hope you've been enjoying those, by the way. And the good thing to come out of that was, we've been nailing a near daily upload schedule recently. I say near daily because last Friday I kinda broke away from it, but got back on the horse right after, so all's well that ends well, right? The same thing that Tails said at the very end of Sonic Adventure. You know, even when I'm not trying to make a reference in a video, that ends up happening anyway. It's just the way it goes sometimes, but Tails is a prominent subject in this video, as you're about to find out. So without further ado, let's jump right into things. So for those of you a little late to the party, let's get you caught up. Recently, we had to say goodbye to Roger Craig Smith, after he voiced Sonic the Hedgehog for a little over a decade since 2010. A statistic that marks him as the Sonic voice actor to have reprised the role for the longest period of time in comparison to his predecessors. When it comes to the Sonic series, Roger Craig Smith may very well be the guy that has kept his role for the second longest period of time out of everybody involved in the series. The top spot as of right now goes to Mike Pollock, who has voiced Dr. Eggman since the launch of Sonic X in 2003. This means that as of 2021, Mike Pollock will have reprised the role of Eggman for 18 years, which is quite an impressive achievement. Also worth noting that this is accounting only for the English VAs of the Sonic series, as there are multiple voice casts accounting for different languages. While we're talking about Mike Pollock, he has confirmed on Twitter that he'll be sticking around to continue voicing the notorious egg-shaped scientist for the Sonic games coming up. Boy, let me tell you, I was beyond happy when I first heard the news, because, and I said this so many times, but it's true, Mike Pollock is the heart and soul of Eggman. To see him not associated with the role anymore would be frankly disheartening, so thank goodness that that's not our reality yet. Now might be a good time to note that I have dropped a video about the news concerning Mike Pollock sticking around as Eggman a couple weeks back when the news first surfaced. Would like you to check it out if you haven't yet. You might like it, you might not. That's up to you. I've also got some more good news for you. Mike Pollock is not the only VA from the 2010s era, and the 4Kids era as well, that we won't have to say goodbye to just yet. In a direct response to a fan on Twitter, Colleen O'Shaughnessy, the voice of Tails, has stated, and I quote, "Tails and I aren't finished yet." This is in direct response to a fan who expresses that she will miss hearing Colleen's voice whenever Tails pops up on the big screen. Fortunately, that too is not our reality, at least not yet. And thank goodness, because just as Mike Pollock does justice for the role of Eggman, Colleen is as exceptionally talented for the role of Tails as well. So God bless her. This does make things a tad confusing, however. Shortly after the news regarding the Netflix series called Sonic Prime officially surfaced, and I say officially, as in not related to the December leak that happened for Sonic Prime. But when the news was first confirmed, Colleen was immediately questioned if she would continue voicing Tails for Sonic Prime. Sadly, her answer was no. Oh, but that's okay, you say, because she'll be voicing Tails in the Sonic movie sequel that's also coming out next year, right? I wish I could be sure of that, but here's the problem. Colleen isn't sure of that either. She doesn't know right now if she'll be voicing Tails in the Sonic movie sequel, according to her. And frankly, it would be odd if she didn't, because she has already made a brief cameo as Tails in the post-credit scene of the original film that launched last year. For them to swap her out right after would, frankly, not make any sense. But here's the problem with the entertainment industry, and it's been a problem for years. Nothing is ever for certain. There have been plenty of odd decisions that have been made well before today's generation, and something tells me that won't change anytime soon. So whether or not Colleen will be sticking around for the Sonic movie sequel is unclear, but at least we know that when it comes to the Sonic games, she is still very much a part of the equation. And that's a relief to know. Now it's a given that Colleen will be sticking around to continue voicing Tails, let's take a brief dive into the history of the people who provided their voices for the young two-tailed fox over the years, just as we did for the Eggman video. I do feel it's only right. When the series first started in 1991, voice actors were not a necessity yet, but that would change 2 years later, when 2 TV shows launched consecutively in 1993, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog and, well, Sonic the Hedgehog, which will also be referred to as Sonic Saturn. I would also mention Sonic Underground, which came out 6 years after the fact, but Tails was not included in that show for whatever reason and was instead replaced by Sonia and Nanik. For both Adventures of Sonic and Sonic Saturn, different VAs would be provided to voice Tails. For Adventures of Sonic, we'd have Christopher Welch, and for Sonic Saturn, we'd have Bradley Pierce. Neither would be mainstays in the cast, as the role would be passed to Christopher Turner for Sonic Christmas Blast, which made its TV debut in 1996. Another 3 years later, there would be another shift as the Sega Dreamcast impacted the console industry, and the first 2 games for Sonic on that console would arrive in 1999 and 2000 respectively, Sonic Adventure and Sonic Shuffle. In both games, Tails will be voiced by Corey Bringas. If you aren't familiar with what Sonic Shuffle is, it's regularly regarded as a clone of the Mario Party series from Nintendo. Having played that game myself when it first came out, I can safely confirm that the number of similarities are quite high. But having said that, it still got its own share of touch-ups that make it unique and fun to play. If you can find a copy of the game, I'd recommend it. In 2001, the sequel to Sonic Adventure, Sonic Adventure 2, would launch from a Sega Dreamcast and then later on from a Nintendo GameCube. From Sonic Shuffle to Sonic Adventure 2, the role of Tails would be passed from Corey Bringas to his sibling, Connor Bringas. Though when I first played the game as an 11-year-old, I never cottoned on to the fact that there had been a change to Tails' VA because the two sounded so similar that I assumed they were the same person. I'm sure many of you have drawn a similar conclusion yourself, and to those of you that caught on, well, clearly you're a lot smarter than I am. Another 3 years later, in 2004, 3 different Sonic games would be released: Sonic Advance 3, Sonic Battle, and Sonic Heroes. In all 3 of those games, the voice of Tails would be provided by William Corkery. Now, aside from the weird trend where there have been changes to Tails' VA every 3 years, there's a more important trend to notice here. That the number of changes to Tails' voice were quite numerous, way more so than Sonic in fact. And there's a good number of reasons why. One of those reasons is, kids just grow up too darn fast these days, man. I have a niece that's on the verge of turning 2 years old later this year. 4 months later, in fact. And I've got my youngest sister halfway along the way to turning 15 years old. And by the time that happens, I'll be 31. Oh god, I'm not ready for that episode. But anyway, why I'm bringing that up is, Tails has always been canonically depicted as an 8-year-old boy, so it only made sense to restrict the role to young boys. But the issue with that is, as young boys progress through puberty, their voices start to deepen to the point they can't accurately voice those characters anymore. And that's not even their fault. Growing up is just a part of nature, there's nothing you can really do about that. Still, this presented a challenge for Sega, who were determined to continue providing accurate VAs for not only the role of Tails, but for the Sonic cast in general. Eventually, they came up with an alternative strategy, to have Tails be voiced by females instead, as they had the capabilities to voice young male characters for much longer periods of time. This strategy was put into motion in 1999 for the release of a Sonic OVA, in which Lainey Frazier would voice Tails. I believe she is officially the first female to voice the young fox, but I could be wrong, feel free to correct me if that's the case. If I'm not wrong, then this strategy would not be revisited until 4 years later, when Sonic X first launched in 2003. That would also signal the start of the 4Kids era. As for Tails himself, he will be voiced by Amy Pallant. Similar to the rest of the 4Kids cast, She would eventually be brought over to the games as a mainstay to continue voicing the young Fox for up until her last title in 2010, Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing. Later that year, Tails will be passed on to a new voice actor yet again. Now this is where I have to confess to a flaw on my part. I'd initially assumed that Colleen O'Shaughnessy made her debut as the voice of Tails in 2010 when Sonic Colors and Sonic Free Riders came out. But apparently, I was incorrect. It was in fact Kate Higgins who voiced Tails in not only both those games, but in follow-up titles up until the end of 2013. It wasn't until the Sonic Boom series began in 2014 that Colleen O'Shaughnessy would make her debut as the voice of Tails. Along with a TV show that lasted for 2 seasons, there would be a pair of games called Sonic Boom Shattered Crystal from a Nintendo 3DS and Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric from a Nintendo Wii U. Colleen would voice Tails in both those games and the TV show, along with many other games to come throughout the rest of the decade. Today, her latest features include Sonic at the Olympic Games, the latest addition to the mobile lineup from the Sonic series, along with Sonic Forces and Team Sonic Racing. While we're discussing Colleen's resume, I've got a couple of fun facts for you that you might like to know. It's probably a little known fact, but Tails is not the only Sonic character that Colleen has lent her voice to. She has also voiced a member of Team Chaotix, Charmy the Bee, in 4 different Sonic games: the DS version of Sonic Colors, Sonic Generations, Sonic Forces, and most recently, Sonic at the Olympic Games. Bet you didn't know that, did you? Well, don't worry, neither did I. But one of the benefits of this video taking a little longer than normal to come out was that I had the opportunity to do some research, and I was quite fascinated by what I learned. Not a fun enough fact for you? Well, don't worry, I've got more. Recently, I was rewatching the cutscenes for a game called Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. Yet I'm a Metal Gear fan, if you didn't know. Or I was up until Solid Snake's storyline ended. What a shame. Anyway, I so happened to glance through the credits when I discovered 2 names that took me by surprise: Colleen O'Shaughnessy and Roger Craig Smith. Now, I had played Metal Gear Solid 4 on the year it came out, which was in 2008, and at the time, neither of those names were known to me, and they wouldn't be known up until the next decade for the Sonic series. But upon revisiting this game and finding their name in the credits, I was dumbfounded. Although, their roles in Metal Gear Solid 4 weren't exactly major. In fact, they were like brief cameos, the equivalent to Tails' appearance in the 2020 Sonic movie. Colleen voiced a local boy that Sonny Golukovich and Otacon would meet up with right after the event of the main story, and Roger Craig Smith was one of a collection of voices lent to the enemy soldiers in that game. Let me tell you, just when you think you know it all about the games you play, you go and prove yourself wrong. And let's tack on another fun fact on top of everything we've learned so far. In addition to Tails, Colleen O'Shaughnessy is best known as the voice of Sora Takanuchi in the Digimon anime, Wasp in the Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and Aino Yamanaka in the Naruto anime. There are others I could list off, of course, but then this video would take forever. Suffice it to say, she's got quite an amount of experience and she's putting all of it to good use. I salute you, ma'am. So, let's go over what we know so far. We know that Mike and Colleen are sticking around to reprise their roles, but with the recent departures of Roger Craig Smith and Cindy Robinson, there are voids to fill for both Sonic and Amy as far as the games are concerned, along with who knows how many other characters as other VAs step down from their roles or are replaced entirely. However, no such news has surfaced yet, so we can assume that hasn't quite happened at this time. In addition, we have the Sonic Prime Netflix series and the Sonic movie sequel coming out next year. We know that Ben Schwartz will be sticking around to voice Sonic in the movie sequel, there is no question there. But nothing in that regard has been announced for either Sonic Prime or the games. Right now, I'm picturing a scenario where we could potentially have up to 3 different voice actors sharing the role of Sonic. One for the games, one for the movies, and one from the Netflix series. Maybe even more than that, because the storyline of Sonic Prime is set to take place across multiple universes related to Sonic's world. And in each of those universes, we will see different versions of Sonic and his friends. This has been 100% confirmed, by the way. What if each of Sonic's different versions has its own voice actor? This could create quite a huge spread in the number of actors sharing the role. and understandably, many have approached the idea with skepticism. And I share my skepticism myself. I should tell you though, that this is not the first time a situation like this has happened. An example I could point to would be the Harry Potter series, which originated as a book series before it expanded over to the games and the movies as a result of its explosive popularity. In the movies, the golden trio of Harry, Ron, and Hermione was voiced by Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson. And they carried those roles across all 8 of the Harry Potter films. I say 8 films even though there were only 7 books because the last film was split into 2 parts, making for a total of 8 films. Now, let's look at the video game adaptation of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which came out in 2004. In it, the 3 roles for the star cast of Harry, Ron, and Hermione were adopted by different actors entirely. For Harry, we had Tom Attenborough. For Ron Weasley, Greg Gillen, and for Hermione Granger, Harper Marshall. Similar changes were made to the rest of the Harry Potter cast. Now, there could be quite a number of reasons for the spread in VAs sharing the same role. For example, they needed to pick different versions of the character, such as a child version and an adult version. That could be totally understandable. Another reason could be the fact that voice acting is a freelancing gig, as Mike Pollock discussed on Twitter not long ago. As a voice actor, the more opportunities you can seize for yourself, the better. This in turn could lead to quite a shift in your schedule, potentially preventing you from reprising the same role across different branches of a franchise's media, be it for the games, the movies, TV shows, and so on and so forth. That's just a guess on my part, of course. I could be wrong entirely. Again, many are skeptical of the idea of Sonic, and maybe however many other Sonic characters are involved, having a number of voice actors sharing the role all at once. And again, I understand the skepticism, but who knows, man? That's really all I can say. The only ones who know for a fact what's going to happen are Sega and the companies involved with the making of the Sonic movies and the Sonic Prime Netflix series. Whilst we're discussing the voice actors, which has been quite a huge topic in this video, I want to point out that Roger Craig Smith voluntarily made the decision to walk away from the role of Sonic after providing the voice of the Blue Blur for a little over 10 years. This detail came to light during his brief appearance on a podcast called Voices from Krypton, where he talks about lending his voice to other characters such as Batman and Captain America. And of course, he discussed his time voicing Sonic. It's an entertaining listen, by the way. You should definitely check the podcast out. Now, the reason why I find it so interesting that he left voluntarily is that the circumstances surrounding the transition between the Dreamcast and the 4Kids eras, and then the 4Kids era to the 2010s era, were quite different. In the case of a transition between Dreamcast to 4Kids, Sega made the decision to replace the Dreamcast voice actors with the 4Kids voice actors to equalize the voice for Sonic and Company across all versions of its media, be it for Sonic X and the games that were coming out at the time. And in 2010, another shift occurred again, although Mike Paul was allowed to re-audition and keep the role of Eggman, making him the only VA to have survived a transition from 4Kids to the 2010s era. Everyone else was replaced at the time. And even throughout the 2010s era, voice actors would continue to be replaced, including Kate Higgins, who voiced Tails in 2010-2013 and was then eventually replaced by Colleen O'Shaughnessy. In other words, the entertainment industry is a place where the ground is not steady 100% of the time. Anything could happen. Now, it could very well be possible that other voice actors had made the same decision that Roger Craig Smith did by this point in time. Not that I would have heard about it, but it's possible that I may not have done adequate research before making this video, which I tried to make it a point to do, so feel free to educate me if you know better. As for why Roger left, who knows? Perhaps he was burned out from the role, or perhaps there were other elements contributing to his situation, like he was referencing during the discussion on Voices from Krypton. You will just have to draw your own conclusion for yourself based on what you've heard. Either way, Roger Craig Smith will definitely be missed, and we can only hope that whoever steps up to fill his shoes will do just as good a job, if not better. I mentioned Roger Craig Smith voluntarily walking away from voicing Sonic, and Mike and Colleen sticking around. Putting all this information together, this leads me to believe that the major shift that was anticipated to be forthcoming from the Sonic VAs in preparation of the Blue Hedgehog's 30th wasn't going to be quite as massive as many expected it to be, at least not on Sega's part. And it's quite surprising I should consider this because we have seen 2 big shifts occur for the Sonic cast within the last 2 decades, so it was only natural to assume that it would happen again, but clearly not? Or maybe it will still happen, but not to the extent as was done before. Who knows at this point, but all of that said, it's not to say that there isn't a big reboot coming for Sonic series later this year still. Earlier in February, a series of posters based on Sonic's 30th anniversary were discovered online, listed on eBay. These posters were later confirmed to be authentic, but not by Sega themselves. Although, it does have the official logo for Sonic's 30th on the front, so makes you wonder, right? On the poster itself, you see a clever little tagline that reads "Unstoppable for Generations," a subtle nod to the existence of Sonic Generations, which was released in the year 2011 to commemorate his 20th. Great, now I suddenly want to play Generations. You know what? After I make this video, I'm gonna fire up Generations. But let's stay focused here. And if you're wondering why I hadn't yet made a video about the Sonic posters when they first came up, I couldn't really come up with the material necessary to justify a video for it just to talk about a poster. I've done merchandise showcases for Sonic before, like for things like bedspreads, 3D illusion lamps, but I really wasn't sure how much material I could come up with just to make a video about a poster, especially when it hadn't been confirmed to be authentic until later on. Rest assured though, I did take notice of these posters when they first surfaced, and they look really darn good. Gonna have to get me one of those whenever I can. Back to the poster. We also see 3 different versions of Sonic as he appeared in different time periods of his franchise. On the left, we see Sonic as he appears in the 2D sprite-based platformers that kicked off his series in the first place. On the right, we see modern Sonic, but it's the image in the middle that is catching my eye the most right now. Anybody else recognize this art style from Yuji Uekawa from the days of Sonic Adventure? No? Maybe it's just me then, but somehow I don't think so. The resemblance is a little too striking right now. I can't be the only one that noticed this. And as an adventure fanatic, I can only be hopeful about what the inclusion of Sonic's Dreamcast style art could possibly mean for the franchise. We are about to celebrate his 30th after all, and if you remember, Nintendo celebrated Mario's 35th by re-releasing a collection of his 3D titles: Super Mario Sunshine, Super Mario Galaxy, and the original Super Mario 64. I can only hope Sega is planning to match up to that by re-releasing some of Sonic's 3D titles to celebrate his 30th, and maybe announce a new one overall. Possibly a Sonic Adventure remake like many have been hoping for recently? But don't take my word for it because I don't know for sure if it will happen, so I don't want you to get your hopes up. And boy, if a Sonic Adventure remake does happen, you all had better prepare yourself for a live reaction video where I completely lose my mind. It would be, like, seriously, it would be perfect. A good way to commemorate the festivities. Come on, Sega, I know you have it in you to make it happen. But anyway, enough of my musings, that will do it for this video. So what do you all think about the recent circumstances surrounding the Sonic voice actors, and of course the games? I'd definitely love to know your thoughts, so be sure to drop them in the comments down below. And if you want to keep up my content, drop a like, hit that sub button, and most importantly, ring that bell. Wouldn't want you to miss out. Thank you all for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time. Until then, peace! Blue blurs for life, and take care.